I will show you now how to wind the clock, and you do it by pulling down on this small string and then lifting up on this larger string that the weight hangs from. So you pull down, lift up simultaneously, and you can bring the weight all the way up to the top. I'm going to move the camera now to the side and mention a couple of things. I'll let the weight down again. It's important to pull down first on this and then lift up. If you lift up too much and get slack in the string like that, then you can see it winds up unevenly. If it starts to do that, just start up the clock, push the pendulum, and let it run, and it will unwind, and then when you rewind it later, then just remember to wind it up smoothly on this shaft here. I'm going to let it down again, which is kind of a tricky thing to do. Now also, I have extra length in these strings, in case the clock is hung higher on the wall than what I have it here. But if you have extra length in this string, when the weight is down on the floor, then you can just wind this around a few times like that. Or if you find you need to unwind it, you can wind it off of this as well as needed. So I'll just bring it up like that. So I'm pulling down, lifting up, and winding it evenly. So it's nice and evenly wound on the shaft. And you can bring it all the way up to the top, up to this hand shaft here. The height I have the clock at is about 160 centimeters from this shaft down to the floor. And if you have the clock at least that high, from the hand shaft to the floor, 160 centimeters, then it will run for at least 24 hours. It will run a little bit more than 24 hours. Of course, if you hang the clock higher, then it will run longer before the weight comes down to the floor. Now I'll just mention a little bit about the hands, about setting the hands. To do that, you turn the minute hand to set the time. If you want to turn it counterclockwise, you can do that too. But as you can see, when I turn it counterclockwise, this wheel is spinning backwards. So I would just grab the wheel with your hand, and then you can turn the hands backwards as much as you want. And then one more thing I'll show you is the hour hand and the way that is attached. The hour hand here is simply attached tightly to a tapered shaft, and I can hold the gear and loosen it by pulling it out. Now you can see it's just loose on there. When the clock is transported, this hand will be it might be knocked out of position, and you might have to reposition it when you set the clock on the wall. So once you get it in the position you want it, then you grab this gear with one hand and push on this hand. I'll show you again. so you can see. Push on this hand like that so that it will tighten on this shaft. And if you look at the clock from the front, I like to first line up the hands straight up so it's showing 12 o'clock. There's some movement, some play in the gears, but get it as close as you can to a vertical position, and then make sure it's pressed tight on the shaft, and then you can set the time with the minute hand. And of course, starting the clock is just by giving the pendulum a slight push like that to start it moving. And there it is. Seagull's dream, the dream of seagulls on the shore, in flight.